Yeah, just a quick review of the book, Occupational Therapy for Physical Dysfunction. Basically, I think the book's divided up into 6 major sections. I'll go over each briefly just to give you an idea what's in the book and who it's for. First one is occupational function. Basically, it talks about foundations of practice, teaching learning process, documentation, that sort of thing. Second part is assessment and intervention. Here they talk about, like assessing vision, sensory, sensation, cognitive eval, range of motion, communication, cranial nerves, and that stuff. Let's see. 3 is rehabilitation technology. Here they talk about like wheelchair seating, upper extremity orthosis and fabrication, even biofeedback. I thought that was interesting. Fourth section is restoration of independent and community living roles. Here's things like restoring your ADLs or activities of daily living, driving, transfers. The fifth one is frames of reference for physical disability rehabilitation. And here they have a lot of the different things like motor learning, neurological approaches, things like PNF, proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, Brunstrom, that kind of stuff. Sixth and the final section is guidelines for physical dysfunction. So here they go through the different conditions, things like cerebrovascular accident, CVAs, hand impairment, various orthopedic conditions, things like amputation, diabetes, just cancer. I mean, about whatever you can think of. So pretty thorough. So yeah, as you can see, this book, I think it's mainly for one of two people. Basically written first and foremost for students. Might be part of a curriculum, a required curriculum in a class for occupational therapy students. So that's really the main audience it's written for. However, I think if you're thinking of getting into occupational therapy and you want to know a little bit more about what it involves, what you might be doing, this would also be a book to thumb through and check out. So I could see it for that audience as well. But definitely, I don't think it's one for the layman. So like, let's say you had, some problem, well, I got an example here, rotator cuff. If you tore your rotator cuff and you want to figure out what to do about it, this probably isn't your best book for that. So to compare the two, you'd be looking more for a book like this. This is written for laymen for a specific problem. This is the 6-minute torn rotator cuff solution for seniors, but it would be for anybody really. Another evidence-based book, which is what you want. This is the kind of book you would go to figure out, hey, I've got a torn rotator cuff, what should I do? So first it kind of goes into, real basic stuff in layman's terms, pictures, what is the rotator cuff, what does it do? Then answers a lot of questions people have when they have a torn rotator cuff, symptoms of a rotator cuff tear, where exactly does it tear at, are there different kinds of tears? Here's a good example. I have a rotator cuff tear and I'm in a lot of pain. I need surgery, right? Well, not necessarily. This is a very evidence-based book. So each one of these is like a study. And basically they went through all the research to try and answer this question. And basically if you take like 100 people that have torn their rotator cuff, and then you look at the tear size, and then you look at how much pain they're in, they're finding there's really, a lot of times, not a lot of correlation necessarily between the size of the tear and how much pain you're in. So they find people actually with large tears that are asymptomatic, that have no pain. And then other people with small tears that are in a lot of pain. So just because you have a lot of pain doesn't mean you have surgery. What will happen if I just leave this rotator cuff tear alone? Here again, the only way you're going to answer that question is to look at all the studies where they take a bunch of people with rotator cuff tears and they follow them over time. People that are, they tear their rotator cuff, they don't get it treated. Look at the natural history of it. What happens if I do nothing? Does it get better? Does it repair itself? How does exercise compare to surgery when it comes to treating my torn rotator cuff? So here again, randomized controlled trials is what you'd be looking at. And this book has actually compiled all the randomized controlled trials looking at exercise versus surgery. And come to find out, exercise actually gets you to the same place as surgery. So that's a very consistent finding in the research according to the book. Anyway, to that end, has an exercise program that you can do, kind of lays it out, that has a beginning, intermediate, and advanced. So just great more for like patients. You could hand this book, answer a lot of questions, or if you have torn your rotator cuff and you want to know what to do. So here again, more for layman's. That's in contrast to this book, which is more, like I say, for students, or if you really just kind of want to learn more about what, I'm thinking getting into occupational therapy, what does it involve, So big difference between the two books. But yeah, here again, great book on occupational therapy, so check it out.